بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another session. This is our last and final session. May Allah make it easy for us. Today, inshallah, we will be discussing the mud letters. Okay, the mud letters, if I just bring it up, the mud letters are the letters alif, waw, and ya only. No other letters can be considered the mud letters. And we need to first be very clear on how is the mud waw and the ya different to the waw and the ya that we covered last session. Last session, we looked at the waw and the ya together. We were looking at the mutaharrik waw and ya. In other words, the waw and the ya that had a haraka on them. When we say, for example, wa, wu, we, ya, you, yi, these are considered mutaharrik. We also looked at the lean waw and the lean ya, which is when we have the O or the A sound, okay? The mud letters are different. They are considered mud letters only when they appear under certain circumstances only, and they act to really prolong the sound of a letter, okay? So for example, if you look at the alif mud that I've just put up now, you can see that here we have an alif mud. Now the letter before it, we don't really consider the letter that comes before the mud letters. What we are interested in is in the haraka that is on that letter. So the mud alif is always preceded by a fatha. Okay, so that's the condition for the mud alif. It has to have a fatha before it. The condition for a letter to be a mud waw is that, again, the letter before it, we don't mind what that letter is as long as it has a dhamma. Okay. And finally, for the letter ya, for the mud ya, we are looking again at the letter before it. And this time, the letter before it has to have a kasra. And it has to be these specific cases for each one. So the alif has to only, we're only considering a mud letter when it has a fatha before it. The waw only when it has a dhamma before it. And the ya only when it has a kasra before it. The mud letters here act as a tool to extend or prolong the sound to a minimum of like double the time it takes to produce the sound of the letter before. So for example, if we said Hamza Fatha, we'll say ah, right? But with the mud alif, it then becomes longer and we go from saying ah to ah. With the mud alif, it becomes double the time. U on its own, with the waw, mud waw becomes stretched again. So we don't say oo anymore, we say oo. For the e, we say e. So the mud letters act as a way of prolonging the sound. We have a phrase that helps us to remember these conditions for those of us that are learning this for the first time. You can remember the phrase nuhiha, and this a word here actually has an example of each case. So we have the mad waw here with the dhamma before it. We have the mad ya here with the kasra before it. And we have the mad alif here also with the fatha before it. So it's a way of that's usually used to help students to remember what haraka needs to be added before the mud letter. Okay, so in each of these cases, what you'll find is what we say with the mud letters is what is their makhraj? Their makhraj is the jawf. And the jawf is really the empty space in the throat and in the mouth. Okay, so whenever we've looked at makharij before, we've always sort of kind of talked about what's touching what. You know, is it the tongue touching a certain part in the mouth or the upper palate or the teeth? Is it the lips coming together? Is it one lip and the teeth? Is it in the top, middle, or bottom of the throat? When it comes to the mud letters, actually, no part actually touches anything else. And we say that it comes from the empty space in the mouth and in the throat. In other words, it's just the simple traveling of your voice through the throat and through the mouth. Okay, so we don't need to, nothing needs to touch anything. Okay, so for example, when we produce the sound you won't, the tongue is very relaxed. You open the mouth, not too much, but you'll separate the lips, you'll drop the jaw a little bit, you'll separate horizontally and vertically a little bit. But it's literally just a sound, very relaxed, not heavy. It sounds nice and light. Ooh, again, circling of the lips because of the dhamma. But again, the sound is just traveling through the empty space in the throat and the mouth. Ooh, e. Again with the e, you're concentrating on the fact that your voice is traveling through the empty space and it's not being blocked or hindered in any way, and that the back of the tongue is not raised. You don't want to make it sound heavy and say e, for example. You want to say e, a, u, e. Okay. Examples in the Mus'haf, typical examples of, for example, qala. We have here the mad alif. Now the mad alif here has a fatha before it, so we know that it's going to prolong the sound of the qa to qa, qala, qala. We also have yaqulu. Again, here we have the mad waw with the dhamma before it. Yaqulu, qala, yaqulu. And finally, we have the one qila with the madya. Qila, qila. Again, the ya preceded with a kasra. An example where we have a part of an ayah is here in front of you. And here we have quite a few. So we have, for example, alladhina, we have this madya preceded by a kasra. In amanu, you have the alif preceded with the fatha. We have the mad waw preceded by a dhamma. When we say wa amilu sa, actually here although this is a mad waw, when we read in continuation, when we carry on, we join the lam with the sad, and therefore the waw is not read. Okay. We have the mad alif here with the fatha before it, so that's another one. And we also have the another alif here with the fatha before it too. Okay, so we've got quite a few here that we need to remember. So we're going to prolong the sound, keep them nice and light. We're very much in a relaxed position. There's no tensing, squeezing of any kind going on. So how do we say this? Alladhina, dina. Amanu, amanu, see it's stretched, relaxed. Amanu, nu, circling of the lips. Again, the prolongation of that. الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. الصا, again prolonged. Hati, nice and light, and again prolonged for the same amount of time, double the time. One thing I do want to draw your attention to with the mad alif is quite special. You'll notice that I didn't say as-sa, I said as-sa, sa. The mad alif copies the letter before it. If the letter before it is heavy, the mad alif will sound heavy, which is why we say as-sa, sa. But when we say the second mad alif, it's preceded by a ha, which is a light letter. So this time we don't say ha, we'll say ha, as-salihati. So I'll do that one more time for you. الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. Okay, I hope that's clear, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. May Allah make it easy for all of you. Of course, these videos will be available to you at any time. You can always come back and listen to these whenever you wish. I suggest you do use the, we don't have a link for the practice session for this particular session, but please do use the links in previous sessions to practice this. And inshallah, I look forward to seeing you for another program. May Allah accept from all of us. Allahumma taqabbal minna innaka anta as-sami'ul 'alim wa tub 'alayna innaka anta at-tawwabur rahim. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Take care, everyone.